We normally think of dogs as less intelligent than humans, but sometimes it's dogs which can do the things that humans can't. Dogs have special abilities, for example a heightened sense of smell, and they also have a great sense of direction. Sometimes these things work to save humans' lives, and in many cases, dogs' bravery has been caught on camera for us to witness. So here are some canines who saved the lives of their owners. Police helper. On the 4th of April 2010, a fire broke out at the workshop of Ben Heinrich. He was doing some maintenance on his truck. That's when his truck caught fire and this spread to his workshop. His house, which was right next to the workshop, was in danger of being caught in the fire, and Ben was actually trapped in the workshop in the fire. Thankfully, his neighbors saw the flames and called 911. That's when State Trooper Terrence Shanagan began driving to the property. But there was one problem. Ben's property was located in the remote Alaskan backroads. This is an area where GPSs sometimes don't work very well. State Trooper Shanagan's GPS device gave out as he was driving there. He was about to make a wrong turn, but that's when he saw something out of the corner of his eye. The shadow he saw was Buddy. This was Ben's German Shepherd. State Trooper Shanagan said that he soon realized that Buddy wasn't running from him, but leading him. He realized that both him and the dog were thinking on the same page for that brief moment. Buddy led the state trooper straight to the property, and thankfully the police and fire brigade were able to keep Ben and his family home safe. Car crash. One day, Charles Bailey was driving through New Waterford, Nova Scotia, Canada. But that's when all of a sudden his drive took a turn for the worst. He blacked out at the wheel, causing his truck to collide with a telephone pole. His car then flipped over several times down a hill. It came to a stop in the middle of a snowy woods, way out of sight of any passing traffic. Charles spent the next 10 hours in his vehicle unconscious. There was no trace of his vehicle going off the road, and there was no one anywhere around coming to help. However, when Charles finally came to, he found himself in a hospital bed. But why is this? Well, it's all thanks to his dog Dallas, who was riding with him. Dallas was with him during the car crash, but he was not hurt. Dallas stayed by Charles's side, keeping him warm during the snowy night. This prevented some of Charles's limbs from getting frostbite. Dallas was also the only reason Charles was ever rescued. He ran up the hill away from the woods back onto the main road. A car then stopped and Dallas led that driver to Charles. An ambulance was then called, all thanks to Dallas. If it wasn't for Dallas, Charles would have sat there for days or even weeks freezing, and it's almost a certainty he would have lost his life. It turned out that Charles had suffered from a brain hemorrhage, which is why he blacked out. He also sustained some frostbite to his arms and legs, but thanks to his hero dog Dallas, he escaped with his life. Snake vs. dog. One day in Sacramento, USA, Bryson Holloway was playing in his backyard. Bryson was only 18 months old, but his mom and dad were sitting on the back porch watching him play. Their dog Shyla then jumped up right near to Bryson. For a moment, Bryson's parents were terrified that their dog was going for their son. They didn't realize it at the time, but in reality, Shyla was protecting Bryson from a copperhead snake. Shyla grabbed the snake with his mouth and then jumped back. Shyla was bitten on the neck by the snake. His neck swelled up so much that his collar had to be removed, but thankfully he was okay. However, if the snake bit 18-month-old Bryson, he could have passed away. His mother, Alicia Holloway, said if it wasn't for their dog, then she doesn't think her son would still be on this planet. After all, they live very far from any hospital. Robber stopper. In 2020, Ludwig de Jager was taking some money out of a bank. He had just withdrawn his entire month's salary. But what the 58-year-old South African man did not realize was he was being followed. Some robbers saw him withdrawing the large amount of money. He was stopped by the two robbers outside the gates of his home, but that's when one of his family members opened up his home's gate. That's when his two dogs, Nicky and Dwewell, rushed out and overpowered the robbers. Thankfully, the man and his dogs were okay. He also managed to keep the money that he withdrew, which was around $2,000. But right now, cops are still trying to track down the robbers. Dog duo. This one took place in Chennai, India. One day a girl named Suni Smith was coming out of her hostel, but waiting outside was her colleague Ragunith. Ragunith had a sharp blade and tried to take her life, but thankfully 2 street dogs outside her hostel saved Sushi's life. They did this by jumping on and scaring off her colleague. Ragunith was later arrested by the police, and the entire incident was caught on CCTV. Poison dog. Rowena and Chris Ando are advocates for pit bulls in New York, and they even own a therapy pit bull named Ruby. Ruby was a rescue dog, so they helped her out by adopting her. But when they adopted her, they never realized that Ruby would repay them in a major way. One night, for seemingly no reason, Ruby began barking for nearly an hour and a half. She was normally a pretty quiet, well-trained dog, so the couple knew something was seriously wrong. They tried to find a reason as to why Ruby was barking, and that's when, after some time, they noticed the smell of propane in the air. It turned out that their newly installed propane heater in their basement was not well installed. The couple was able to escape their house before any carbon monoxide poisoning could occur, and it's all thanks to Ruby's amazing sense of smell and intuition. Carbon monoxide is colorless, odorless, and tasteless. This makes it very dangerous, and it's very common for people to pass away after breathing too much in. But dogs have a heightened sense of smell, so they can smell it while humans can't. Police dog. One day in Leiden, UK, there was an incident with 2 police. There was a criminal with a sharp blade trying to injure the police. But that's when police dog Anya got involved. Anya jumped up on the man and disarmed him. The police involved said that if Anya wasn't there, they likely would have lost their lives. Inhaler dog. One day, Rebecca Brooks from the UK began experiencing some very severe asthma. But while she was coughing and gasping for breath, her dog Jess sensed danger. Her dog then ran into Rebecca's room and grabbed her inhaler for her. Rebecca used it and was fine. She was amazed and was wondering if it was simply a coincidence. So she placed her inhaler in a different room. She then began coughing again to see what Jess would do. Amazingly, once again her dog ran, grabbed her inhaler and brought it right to her. It just shows what we don't know about dogs and how they may be a lot smarter than we think. Bear vs. dog. In 2018, Tiffany Merrill from North Carolina, USA went out on a walk. She took her poodle, named Pickle, with her, but that's when all of a sudden a gigantic bear came out of nowhere. The bear was 200 pounds, and Tiffany feared for her life. But that's when her poodle, Pickle, was able to distract the bear. Tiffany and Pickle then made a run for it and got back in their house. Sadly, the bear caught up with Pickle and she did not make it. But the poodle's brave actions saved her owner Tiffany. It just goes to show that dogs really are a man's best friend. But now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below which dog was the biggest hero.